Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners. Thank you all for being with us and joining us via Facebook Live. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight by Police Chief Bill Carter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our invocation tonight from the Wendell Council of Churches, we're going to our invocation is going to be from Errol Briggerman, Wendell Baptist Church. Are you with us, Mr. Briggerman?
Yes. Am I here? Am I there?
We can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
All right. All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Hope you have a good day. All right. Just real quick, I want to really wave. Yeah, I want to wave the flag for the maintenance crew here in town. Those guys have been painting like crazy and really making our city look great. Real quick, I want to.
Well, thank you. Things look nice. We'll make sure they know what you said.
I want to wave the flag for the maintenance crew here in town. Those guys have been painting like crazy and really making our city look great. All right. And then, like I said, most of our churches are back in session. We're doing service on Sundays. We've got a couple of Bible study, adult. We have a Wednesday night Bible study now. It's back in session, so most of our churches are back in session. We're doing okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hang on, it's behind me. Okay. Let's pray. Okay. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day you've given us. Thank you, Lord, for how you have protected our city, how you have allowed us to grow in you, how you have just come around all of us and have done such a great job in protecting us throughout this time. We just ask, Lord, that as the meeting is conducted tonight, that our commissioners and mayor just shows the wisdom that they have to make all the right decisions, which will just make our community better. We just pray, Lord, for continued success. We just ask you, Lord, to watch over all of us through this COVID time and bring that to an abrupt end. We just give you all the praise and glory for that. Amen. Success. We ask you, Lord, to watch over all of us.
Thank you so much. Is there any adjustment to the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Joyner? Or don't forget anybody. Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Tarnaski?
Aye.
Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
There's no one signed up for public comment tonight, but I'm going to remind you again that if you want to sign up for public comment, you can contact the town clerk on Friday before, at the last moment, anytime up until Friday at 5 before our next meeting, and she can help you arrange to speak, and we'd love to know what you're thinking, so please consider that if you've got something you'd like to have the board hear. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Joyner? Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Tarnaski?
Aye.
And Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. Move into our Section 4, recognitions, reports, and presentations. And the first thing, Wendell Stormwater Scope presentation, and we're going to hear from our Public Works Director, Brian Bray.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board of Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm happy to be before you tonight with the stormwater fee strategy presentation. This is a part 2 that follows the previously presented gap analysis study. Our Stormwater Program Manager, Joseph Collins, he's here with me tonight as well. Joe has worked together with our Withers Ravenel consultants to put this presentation together in a timely manner, and he's available to assist with any questions tonight as well. And I will turn this over to our consultants if there aren't any questions to start out.
All right.
All right, thank you.
The presentation is shared.
I could just hit the button. Okay, excellent. Is it okay if I,
Yes.
okay. Thank you very much.
It's easier to hear.
It's easier for me to speak. I may pass out if I wear it the entire time,
I
so.
understand.
Mayor, council members, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about what we've been working on. Before I speak, I want to give a larger shout out to both Brian and Joseph. It was more than just being timely. They did a fantastic job in responding to everything, working through everything together, because really we had a lot to do in a fairly short amount of time, and very much appreciated everything they've done for this project. So they deserve a lot of credit.
Thank you for that. Thank y'all.
So, my name is Seth Robertson. I'm the Director and Vice President of Funding and Asset Management for Withers Ravenel. With me tonight, I have Melissa Cardinale, and I believe Stephen Miller. Is he listening in anyway? Okay, yeah. So he's virtual with us. So we've been working on this project now for several months, once again with staff. My role has been kind of from a management QA/QC. Melissa is the project manager for the project. And Stephen's the one that's really done most of the number crunching. So I hate he couldn't be here with us tonight, but he's certainly available if we have any specific questions as we go through them.
I'm sorry, let me, technical support really quick. I want to minimize that little box.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just a brief recap of why we're here and kind of how we got here. Almost a year ago, our other members of Withers Ravenel came in with our stormwater team to talk about the permit, talking about upcoming audit process and doing the additional work, including the gap analysis, which they've been working on, to try to really come up with what were the needs and the costs of going from where the stormwater program currently was to meet the permit and the audit process that'll be upcoming next year. And as part of that, figuring out then how to fund those needs over long periods of time. So as far as the MS4 compliance, there's a number of things that go into that. And the gap analysis, the purpose of that were to identify all of those needs and any kind of deficiencies of trying to get to there. And I'll say where you're at is not uncommon across the state. The vast majority of people that are in this process and going through the audit process are trying to do these exact same things, because the way the program has been administered by the state and by the federal government over many, many, many years, the lack of an auditing, the lack of follow-up with the permit process, basically everybody's doing this exact same thing now that they're finally coming and doing the audit process. So you're, if anything, are kind of ahead of the game in the fact of some of the moves you've been making in the stormwater department to get ready for this, the gap analysis project, and obviously trying to get the funding in place so that you can do the things and actually pay for them when the time comes. But as you look up there, there's just a variety of things from ordinances to the stormwater management plan, doing fiscal analysis, trying to make sure you have the staffing in place, the training in place for employees to be able to do the inspection and maintenance that's going to be necessary to be in compliance with the permit, to do the things like the SEM inspections, that's the stormwater control measures, and a variety of other things to be in compliance. And then obviously that was identified as part of that process is needing to do a analysis of where the program was currently funded, and then compare that to the long-term needs. So first thing we did was an overall budget analysis, looking at what was the existing stormwater budget, what was being spent now that would be covered in going forward, and then what were the additional needs. And then doing ultimately a stormwater rate study to look to put in a stormwater fee to be able to help, at least in the short term, supplement along with the general fund, which is what's been paying for stormwater services, and try to come up with a long-term plan that ultimately would be a self-sustainable fee. And now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to talk about some of the specifics and how we went through the process.
And show me which button you were hitting.
Just hit the forward button.
Just that one, okay, thank you. Thank you, Seth. Stormwater is a fact in our daily lives, and you all are likely familiar with these scenes from the Short Street area in Wendell. But how do we fund the solutions for stormwater challenges? Whoops. The goal of the budget analysis is to look at stormwater as what it is, and that's a utility, just like your water and sewer services are a utility. And it's important to have a basis to determine what the fee should be in charging for stormwater. The analysis will also show the drivers behind the fee. Top of that list is movement towards your permit compliance that Seth was just talking about. And that will lead us to required increase in inspections of basins and maintenance, and those inspections of the basins and maintenance are going to lead to capital improvement projects. So working with the Wendell Stormwater team, a plan was developed to start assessing the long-term capital needs for Wendell and stormwater. We also worked to project revenues and operating expenditures over that same 10-year time period, and that gave us the information to start analyzing a possible future stormwater fee to support the program. The capital improvement plan is key to addressing stormwater issues. Infrastructure improvements can reduce or eliminate issues like flooding, sinkholes, and generally unsafe driving conditions. I apologize, I know this slide is very small, but this is the capital improvement plan for the next 10 years. But what's really important here is that this is not set in stone. This is a fluid document. It will change from year to year and is updated annually to reflect changes that the town either has experienced or anticipates coming forward in the next year or so. But as noted earlier, basin studies and maintenance are key parts of the stormwater program, and these basin studies will result in specific projects. And as those projects are known, the CIP should be updated. We recommend updating it annually, but as it's updated and projects are discovered, this CIP will become more specific and more robust. But for right now, the approach is, since we don't have those extensive basin studies, is to create a potential CIP with placeholders. We've inserted placeholders for those basin studies, and then the predominant line I'd like to point your attention to is the rehabilitation line, which is, we've identified almost $5.5 million in CIP. $4 million of that represents upcoming possible rehabilitation projects beginning in year 3 or fiscal year 2024, and that's a $500,000 placeholder for each of those years. So as you move towards your MS permit compliance, the ramp up toward full compliance is shown in this anticipated expenditures graph. Capital, again, puts the most pressure on the stormwater fee and funding, and that's also the largest area of uncertainty. And in this graph, that's the red or burgundy part of the bar on each of those columns. We also anticipated basic assumptions on operating expenditures to include the impact of inflation, also additional personnel. That's going to be the highest driver on the operating side, is the personnel to address those studies and compliance of your permit. And also you've got education of the public and training, et cetera, that's represented in very small portions there. So we've created a funding scenario that basically shows the stormwater fee supported by general fund, and that, as Seth mentioned, is what your current arrangement is. Your stormwater services supported by the general fund. And initially, in FY22, you'll see it's very small, and I believe Mr. Collins has inserted a placeholder of $20 annually for the stormwater fee. But then we look at how much should the stormwater fee support stormwater services? And there's not a clear-cut answer for that. It's different for every town. The best comparison, again, is water and sewer, where the users pay for that utility. They're paying for what they consume, and so ultimately, you will want to look for your stormwater fee to correspond like the water and sewer fee. Those that have the largest impervious surface would then bear the largest portion of the fee. In this funding scenario, where we maintain general fund support of the capital dollars, this would translate to a stormwater fee of $66.45 annually in support of operations. So again, in your budget, I believe you've got a placeholder of $20 as an annual flat fee for FY22, with a possible fee, partial support, operating side of stormwater for $66.45, as we showed in the scenario, an annual flat fee. But we're also recommending that there's an exploration of an equivalent residential unit, or ERU, which will start aligning the burden of stormwater with those, the burden of paying for the stormwater to those that have the greatest impact on the impervious surfaces. And that's something that you might want to start looking at in the next year or two as your stormwater program begins to develop and expands. The extent to which the stormwater fee covers all the expenses of the utility is up to each town. That's why if you look at rates across the state and even across Wake County, you will see a lot of diversity. As a matter of example, we've included some rates as depicted in the UNC Environmental Finance Center, done within about a 50-mile radius of Wendell, and you can see they range anywhere from $24.96 annually in Morrisville to $107 in Creedmoor. And again, it's very difficult to compare because you don't know how robust their stormwater programs are. You don't know how much they're moving toward permit compliance, MS4 compliance. And you don't know what other funding sources they're using to support that stormwater program. But by funding a strong stormwater program and a strong capital improvement plan, your stormwater fee goes towards supporting MS4 permit compliance, your water quality improvement, safety and flood mitigation, and definitely improves quality of life as those control measures can be integrated into parks and green spaces. I also want to point out that there are limitations to the fee. The fee is protected. It can only be used for stormwater programs. It cannot offset taxes in the general fund, and it cannot support water and sewer operations. And the fee cannot grow exponentially. There must be a documented plan to support spending of the fee, and that's what your capital improvement plan is. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of information, but we'll be happy to entertain any questions that you may have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Well, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I know you said that a lot of communities are either behind us or in the same place as we are. Is there anybody ahead of us? And that'll give me my follow-up to
Yeah,
that.
and the answer is some are, and part of that's driven by the audit schedule. So some have already been audited or are being audited this year versus next year. So that's tend to driving a lot of the systems that are kind of same size, same capacity, not counting the Raleighs and those that have had robust, overwhelming programs for many, many, many years.
I guess my next question is, and this may be something that you can get back to us on, but what is the typical evolution of a fee or a stormwater fee over time in a community that's implementing it? I think earlier tonight we were pretty well sold on a $20 fee.
Yep.
30 minutes later, I'm seeing $66. Happy to pay the price of what
Right.
it takes to protect the local environment, but would love to know if other communities have maybe started low and had to adjust in year two, and that was unexpected and caused, if there was a trend line, I'd certainly love to
Yeah.
see that.
Absolutely, and there is a general, kind of path that I think most utilities have taken, most systems, most towns. A lot of times it is a fairly low flat fee to start with. There's systems out there that did $1 or $2 or whatever else a month from that fee standpoint. So what you're talking about is not unusual as you're first starting your program. After that, typically that flat fee continues to increase. At some point, you have a robust enough program to need that ERU. And that basically means for non-residential entities, you're going to charge them more based upon how much stormwater they generate. That's what we're talking about, the impervious surface. So you may be talking, 10 times, 100 times what a normal homeowner is going to pay to cover those costs. So that's kind of the evolution, to start with something, increase that over time, and then move to more robust. And part of that is because of the legislation for stormwater fees, it's different than water and sewer. So one of the things is, and Melissa alluded to it, you can't charge money if you don't have a need to spend it. And when you're early in the program, a lot of times you're just ramping up, starting to look at what your needs are and plan. You'll know a lot more probably 3 years from now than you do today. You'll know even more 5 years from now. And that's why when you look at that CIP, you see a number of basin studies in there. That would be the time really to start looking at, okay, what do we really need as we start getting clear identifications of what projects are, the condition of our system, and that type of information. I would say it's better to do it carefully and measured than to overshoot too early.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Joyner, a quick follow-up on your question from the last item. That's why I prefaced that this was kind of the introductory rate, and you'd see the actual program costs. And I've seen the implementation of stormwater programs in a couple different communities at this point. You do come in at a low fee, because there's a community education that needs to go along with the program. And so you'll have a more measured approach to that escalation, as much as the regulatory agencies will allow us.
All right, we have no public hearing scheduled for tonight, so we'll move into our administrative items. Item 6A is a decision on a rezoning request for 3340 Wendell Boulevard from neighborhood center to downtown mixed use. Mr. Jones.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Hope everyone's doing well. I know we have a busy calendar tonight, so I'll be brief and to the point. So, specific action requested tonight is make a motion on the proposed zoning request. This public hearing was held initially on Monday, April 12th. The applicant is requesting to rezone a parcel located on the southwest corner of Wendell Boulevard and Magnolia Street from neighborhood center to downtown mixed use. As you know, this was submitted in conjunction with another rezoning request. The applicant has indicated that no significant changes will be made on the property at this time. It's a straight rezoning opposed to a conditional rezoning, and it allows for all the permitted uses within DMX. And it is important to note at this time it is unclear what their future use will be. 6 acres, we'll go to this, subject parcel right here, neighborhood center to the north, neighborhood center to the west, DMX to the east, and I believe that's R3 to the south. Last time we talked about the characteristics within the DMX district, just to remind everyone. The district is really oriented towards redevelopment and expansion of the traditional downtown area. Buildings with mixed use, vertical, street-level commercial, and upper-level residential or commercial uses are typically found in this zoning district. Higher densities for residential development, facilitating pedestrian activity, vibrancy associated with infrastructure. This is typically, the DMX district is typically associated with activity, and it's a hub of activity, and it generally brings people in, a cross-section of residents, businesses, amenities, education, and employment. Here's what our comprehensive plan says. So this big, large circle is the Village Center District, and the kind of the salmon color is the S6 area. And this is, in fact, consistent with the comprehensive plan. At the March 15th Planning Board meeting, they voted unanimously to recommend approval for this requested rezoning. We want to say that the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the recommended uses outlined in the Wendell Comprehensive Plan for the S6 sector and the Village Town Center, and is reasonable and consistent with the adjacent zoning districts. Some of the staff comments from last time. The rezoning request at this location, while not proposing any change in use today, is an appropriate place for redevelopment. The parcel is located adjacent to the DMX district. The parcel is located within a National Register Historic District. Rezoning to this property to DMX could allow for future commercial, multifamily, residential, or mixed-use development. Because of its proximity to non-residential development along Wendell Boulevard, these options could be appropriate for this site. We should consider the potential impact in traffic that may be generated from this site. That being said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
Just to confirm, there weren't any additional public comments submitted after the public?
No, sir.
Nikki, did the applicant provide any more detail?
Mr. Jeffries was kind of silent on the topic. I have not heard from Mr. Davis either on the next rezoning request.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm prepared to make a motion if you're ready for it.
Go ahead.
A motion to rezone 3340 Wendell Boulevard from neighborhood center to downtown mixed use.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to rezone the 3440 Wendell Boulevard from neighborhood center to downtown mixed use. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Commissioner Deloach, I'll just say that my thoughts hadn't really changed since the last meeting. In the middle of a comp plan, and it seems that, you know, while they're pretty non-committal on what's going in there, I just feel like that while we're in the midst of ironing out what the DMX should be, will be, et cetera, again, my thoughts don't change from last time.
Any other comments from the board?
Madam Mayor, I'll just say, I spoke to the applicant for the first property, and have a little bit better understanding, and, I share Commissioner Deloach's thoughts, but share them on the, second parcel, more so than the first, and I know that that may sound odd to others, but I agree with Commissioner Deloach that in an ideal world, this would be handled under the comp plan, but I also understand the applicants made an application and we need to make a judgment on that. I think it's important for us to understand what's going in around our downtown core, particularly on corners that are, so close to what I would call the gateway into downtown, and directly across the street from where we're possibly gonna be spending the most money we've ever spent on lap and sidewalk projects to try to improve traffic, in the coming months. Not understanding what the use would be, in the future. I have different thoughts, but those are my comments.
Mr. Jones, could you speak to the, my understanding was that the, property that we're speaking to right now, here at the corner, was kind of being done as, is just to be in kind of agreements with the property behind it, is that what I understand?
Sort of a courtesy, if you will.
Sure.
Just to bring those two rezonings in together would theoretically make it a little more amenable as it relates to zoning, kind of in an area that's got no DMX outside of being adjacent to it. We had that discussion with the applicants.
Okay.
I feel like the timing of it with regard to the comp plan, I understand wanting, to not make a lot of decisions with the comp plan in taking place right now. But whatever, we can't stop doing the business of the town because the comp plan's out there. So that's how I feel about that. I also think that whatever the DMX beside it winds up being, this will be that as well, and it will be whatever we approve, whatever this board decides that DMX means. Is that correct? So it's not like something strange is gonna come out of nowhere, even though I know we would prefer to know what's gonna be there.
Yes, ma'am. Since this is a straight rezoning opposed to a conditional, the certainty is not quite there. We know
Right.
what the permitted uses are within the
Right.
zoning district.
Mhm. It will fall within the permitted uses.
Yes, ma'am.
That's already have been established, and those are okay and permitted by this board. So, I mean, I struggle with saying, well, I understand hesitation, but I struggle with hesitation because we don't know. I don't know. That bothers me a little bit. Is there any other discussion or comments from the board?
I would just say, Madam Mayor, that with a more definitive plan, it would make the decision a little easier. It's not the first time we've been presented with something. I just, there's just not a ton of urgency there. So while I do agree that, if somebody brings something before us, we need to make a decision on it. But in this particular circumstance, I'm gonna err on the side of, we have a comp plan, and, we are working on the process, and with no urgent or definitive plan, I'm gonna err on the side of, let's get the comp plan in place.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, I really do, but I don't think having the comp plan there or not is the question. I think the question is whether or not we know what they're doing. I think that seems to be what's, creating some hesitation. I think it's more that than the working on the comp plan. So, anyone else?
No. Okay,
So we have a motion to approve the proposed rezoning and adopt the attached ordinance. Well, that isn't exactly how he said it, but to approve the rezoning request for 3340 Wendell Boulevard from neighborhood center to downtown mixed use. Commissioner Joyner, Commissioner Boyette,
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach,
Nay.
Commissioner Tarnaski,
Aye.
and Commissioner Lutz.
Aye.
All right. So that passes 4-1. Item 6B is a decision on a rezoning request for 217 Magnolia Street from residential 3 to downtown mixed use.
Very similar rezoning, of course, so we're looking for the same motion on the proposed rezoning request. The public hearing for this item was held on the same day, Monday, April 12th, 2021. The applicant is requesting to rezone a parcel located on the west side of Magnolia Street, just south of Wendell Boulevard, from R3 to DMX. This rezoning, of course, was submitted in conjunction with the prior rezoning we just discussed. The applicant intends to redevelop this property. However, at this time, staff has not received any plans or clarity on the final plan of the property owner. The property owner has indicated in the rezoning application that commercial or multifamily is what he would be looking to do. This is also a traditional rezoning. Again, all permitted uses within the DMX zoning district would be allowed. 0.71 acres. This is the subject property. To the south, you have R3. To the north, you have Neighborhood Center, or what was just recently approved for rezoning on DMX, for DMX. To the west, we have R3, and then to the east, we have R3 as well. But as you can see, right here is DMX. Planning Board voted unanimously March 15th to approve or to recommend approval for this zoning map amendment. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the recommended uses outlined in the Wendell Comprehensive Plan for S6 sector and the Village Town Center, and is reasonable and is consistent with the adjacent zoning districts. There are several staff comments that we wanted to note. The proposed rezoning request is unique in the sense that it could expand a small geographically targeted zoning district. We've talked about the DMX district quite a bit recently. DMX is approximately 15 blocks and is primarily commercial. The intent of this district is to create a vibrant, pedestrian-oriented environment. The proposed site is unique due to the residential nature of the surrounding area. If the proposed parcel were rezoned to DMX, a commercial building was constructed, it could change the residential character of the existing neighborhood. The design guidelines for a commercial building in DMX are meant to promote pedestrian-oriented environments. So that being said, if a commercial building is constructed here, it would have to meet very specific design guidelines. The comprehensive plan supports a commercial use at this location, and the DMX district is in close proximity, of course. If rezoned, the property owner would have several options. These options range from townhomes to a 4-story commercial building. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, I have a motion if you're ready for it.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to approve the request for the rezoning of 217 Magnolia Street from residential R3 to downtown mixed use.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to approve the rezoning request for 217 Magnolia from residential 3 to downtown mixed use. Is there any discussion on the motion?
One comment, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Highlight, so the last property that we just discussed touches Wendell Boulevard, is directly adjacent and owned by the same property owner that is already in the DMX to its east. And I think anytime you gave me those three factors without telling me even where the property is located, I'm going to vote that way. This one is different for me. The last time that we had people in this building, or one of the last times, there was a huge conversation about R3 versus R4, and a simple change between 3 and 4 was of epic proportion. I do have the benefit on the last one of knowing who the owner is and being able to have a conversation with him to determine what the plan is. I certainly think that when we do a comp plan, this will end up being in some DMX-ish type district, but not knowing what the plan for the property is, what the intensity of the use would be, and it also not being conditional and just being by right concerns me, so I intend to vote no on this.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So we have a motion to, approve the rezoning request from 217 Magnolia Street from R3 to, DMX. Commissioner Joyner,
No.
Commissioner Boyette,
Aye.
Commissioner, Deloach,
Nay.
Commissioner Tornaski,
Aye.
and Commissioner Lutz.
Nay.
All right, so that fails 3-2. Item 6C is a decision on a zoning text amendment to comply with Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The specific action requested here is to make a motion on the proposed zoning text amendments to comply with Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes. The original public hearing was held on this item Monday, April 12th, 2021. As always, we'll briefly go over what 160D is, and then we'll kind of get into the changes. 160D is essentially a new chapter that consolidates current city and county enabling legislation for development regulations specifically. It creates a more logical organization of the regulations, does not make major policy changes or shifts. However, it does provide many clarifying amendments and consensus reforms. So this is the third batch of text amendments we've done for 160D. This pertains to land use, administration, zoning ordinances, and development ordinances specifically. As we talked about before, we did NOVs in batch 2, but we missed one specifically in stormwater because it was in a different section. So some of the same changes are seen here. You must deliver to the permittee and to landowner if they're different. The administrator must certify the NOV for the file. If inspecting, must enter the premises during reasonable hours and upon presenting credentials. Must have consent of premises owner or an administrative search warrant to inspect the areas not open to the public. So that's new. For revocation of development approval, it must follow the same process as was used before to approve it. A good example is a special use permit. You go through a process to get a special use permit. If someone's not complying with the conditions in a special use permit, in order to revoke that permit, you must go through the same process. Eliminate conditional use zoning district, or conditional district zoning. Existing conditional use district zoning converts to conditional district. This pertains specifically to a map. We did the first terminology changes in batch 1 right off the get-go, so this is really changing the map. Conform subdivision performance guarantee requirements with statutory standards. At the March 15th, 2021 Planning Board, they voted unanimously to recommend approval on this text amendment. The proposed ordinance amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan since it supports key principle number 9, make development decisions predictable, fair, and cost-effective. Staff recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for the board?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the zoning text amendments to comply with Chapter 160D of the NC General Statutes and adopt the attached ordinance.
All right, we have a motion to approve the zoning text amendment to comply with Chapter 160D of North Carolina General Statutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? And adopt the ordinance, I think you said that too, sorry. All right, Commissioner Joyner, Commissioner Boyette,
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach,
Aye.
Commissioner Tornaski,
Aye.
and Commissioner Lutz.
Aye.
All right, thank y'all. That passes unanimously. Item 6D is the approval of ordinances to assign the duties of the tree board to the Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm going to hear from the town clerk. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. Bear with me just a second. There we go. At its budget retreat on, that should say February, my apologies, 27th, 2021, the Town Board of Commissioners requested that staff combine the tree board with the Parks and Recreation Commission due to membership and attendance concerns. It was discussed that the town would still maintain its eligibility to be a Tree City USA with this conglomeration. The request was also made to maintain an ex officio capacity and membership of the Parks and Recreation Commission at any time for individuals who might not live in city limits or the ETJ. Attached in your agenda packet are two ordinances that adjust the rules and regulations for the Tree Board and the Parks and Recreation Commission accordingly. Ordinance 012-2021 amends Chapter 28 in our UDO to amend Sections 28.21, 2819, 28.22 to 28.27 to assign the duties of the Tree Board to the Parks and Recreation Commission. This amends Chapter 28 by assigning the responsibility of promoting trees and tree care throughout our town to the Parks and Recreation Commission, effective July 1st of this year. It also defines the Tree Board as the Parks and Recreation Commission serving in this capacity. Ordinance 013-2021 amends Chapter 2, Article 5 in our UDO to assign the duties of the Tree Board to the Parks and Recreation Commission. This will change the composition of the Parks and Rec Commission from 5 members to 7 members. Currently, there are 4 members on the Tree Board, 3 of which are in town, 1 of which is in the ETJ, with the earliest term expiring in 2022. There are also 2 in-town members of the Parks and Recreation Commission with terms expiring in 2023. So combining the 2 boards would bring together 6 members, leaving an opening for 1 in-town position. This in-town position would comply with Wake County's population proportionality recommendations for in-town and ETJ membership, which is 6 in-town, 1 ETJ for a 7-person board. A quorum will consist of 5 members. It'll also allow for an ex officio, non-voting member to apply to the Parks and Recreation Commission at any time, serving a term for 3 years for adults and 1 for youth, just like any of the other members on the Parks and Recreation Commission. It maintains that the Parks and Recreation Director or anyone assigned by the town manager are the staff liaisons for this commission. It also adds all of the responsibilities covered by the Tree Board in Section 28.21 into the Parks and Recreation Commission's functions and duties in Section 2-312. The Parks and Rec Commission will continue to meet the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. at Town Hall. Parks and Recreation Director Jeff Pulaski, Recreation Supervisor Philip Smith, and myself will all send emails to the current Tree Board and Parks and Recreation Commission members alerting them of this conglomeration. Current members will maintain the ability to resign at any time if they so choose, and in the event that a member decides to resign, the vacancy will then be advertised immediately for a partial term for the current appointment schedule that we're holding in June. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Megan, will this take effect on the start of the new cycle?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor, I have a short rabbit hole I'd like to run down if you don't mind. While we're looking at this ordinance and it's in front of us, and this may be a question for the attorney, but there's a penalty section, and the penalty section states that if you plead guilty or convicted to provisions under this article, it's a fine of $50, but it leaves open-ended a jail term not more than 30 days. And I would just offer that this would probably be a wise time to take the jail provision out of that. I don't understand why we have I cannot think of a crime that someone could commit involving a tree under this ordinance, A, that would require jail time, or B, that if it was actually an issue, the chief wouldn't be charging them with other crimes that would ultimately take them. So it would just, a fine not to exceed $50 and strike the rest of that section. It's section 2827 penalty.
Give Mr. Colley a minute to look.
I think it includes both because it is a reference to a criminal provision. And it should be just a civil penalty, if that's your pleasure, just a civil penalty.
That would be my desire.
I think, I don't have the code with me tonight, but I think we have a civil penalty section. Yes.
Would there be any harm for staff to evaluate comparative ordinances and processes and determine more of the why and report back to the board? And we can propose a text amendment just on that one section at that time, just to give us time to properly vet it?
I'll make a deal with you. Staff wants to review this and other zoning ordinances and/or ordinances that would result in jail time. I'd be happy to repeal likely as many of those as you'd like to bring to me.
Yeah, if you give us some time to do the analysis,
That's fine.
fit that into our schedule, we'd be glad to do that for the board.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve item 6D.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the ordinance to assign the duties of the tree board to the Parks and Rec Commission. Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Joyner,
Aye.
Commissioner Boyette,
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach,
Aye.
Commissioner Tornaski,
Aye.
and Commissioner Lutz.
All right.
All right, item 6E is the authorization to negotiate the purchase of a portion of the Wake Equity LLC property from Wake County for the future expansion of Wendell Park. Mr. Collins.
This is an exciting opportunity, unless y'all decide otherwise tonight. As you've heard and staff communicated to you, the Wake County Board of Commissioners authorized and staff has closed a purchase on the approximately 119-acre property adjoining the town of Wendell Park, owned by Wake Equity LLC. Their purchase price of approximately $1.3 million was about $10,915 per acre. That approval was at their first April 2021 meeting, and I provided in your attachments their cover sheet from that with additional background information. As part of that process, Wake County staff and town staff started communicating about, are there areas of that property that the town of Wendell would be interested in for more active recreation, and to purchase that at that same cost per acre. An initial evaluation with the Parks and Rec director is there's a plus or minus 7-acre area east of the drainage, right adjoining our ball fields and lower parking area. And so there's an opportunity with that to add directly adjacent property to the town park for an active recreation use. Currently in your appropriated budget, there is funding for a different open space acquisition. So I wanted to make sure that I was on solid grounds and get your direction to be okay to add that 7 acres into the park, to get it surveyed and purchase that portion. There's a second component in that if the board recalls back, the town partnered with Clean Water Management Trust Fund in the county and added additional conservation land to the park several years ago. And so there's a similar partnership between the town and Wake County that has a potential to be negotiated and brought back. So the second part of the staff request is a request authorization about the remainder of that 119 acres, that the town take on a management responsibility if the county so deemed to deed that property over to the town. Also, part of that would be to establish a trail corridor for a Buffalo Creek Greenway. That would be consistent with what y'all seen in comprehensive plan and greenway efforts to extend greenways along Buffalo Creek from downtown in the park up to Wake Tech and East Wake and Robertson Mill Pond. The county's excited about that potential as well. And also, as part of that negotiation, at the end of Industrial Drive, there may be another area that's upland of the wetland area that's been heavily logged in the past, and so there might be other land that we could purchase in the future under an option for active recreation in addition to the park as well. So it would be, at the end of the day, the potential to add 119 acres to the park, conservation protecting a lot of that wetland, and excellent environmental and species protection on this property. So there's a win on a lot of different areas. Our initial commitment would be less than $100,000 to purchase the 7 acres adjoining the park for either future ball field, multi-purpose or other expansion, or an additional facility site on the property. That roughly offsets the town hall property that we're cutting out of town park, so we're not losing any parkland in the park with that as well. Happy to entertain any questions and look for a motion.
Any questions from the board, comments?
Madam Mayor, I just have a comment. I was excited about this one. This is when I was on the Parks Recreation Committee. We were just kind of daydreaming about this in the future, having this and the access it gives us to Buffalo Creek, and just the logical aspect of just extending the park out towards this way, and even the future ability maybe even to connect over to Carver and kind of add some direct walking connection there too. So, this is something that I thought would be a logical move for years. So, I think this is a great option.
Anyone else? Any other comments?
I'll turn that to a motion, Madam Mayor, and just make a motion to authorize the manager to negotiate the purchase of a portion of Wake Equity LLC property.
All right, we have a motion to authorize the manager to purchase a portion of the Wake LLC property. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Can I clarify if the motion also provides the authority to negotiate, as described, the remainder of the property?
And to
Yes, ma'am.
negotiate the remainder of things that we discussed tonight.
So amended.
Does that cover it all?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is there any discussion on on that newly amended motion? All right, Commissioner Joyner? Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach?
Aye.
Commissioner Tarneski?
Aye.
And Commissioner Lutz?
Aye.
That
Thank you all.
passes. And other business, item 7A, update on board committees by town board members. Excuse me. Last week, I virtually attended Campo. We heard a presentation from the NCDOT about their multimodal connected vehicle technology and pilot project. It's a long name for something, but it's really exciting. Essentially, what it will do is allow vehicles to interact with their surroundings around them. The pilot area, it was obtained through a grant, and they're partnering with NC State, using the area predominantly where the Wolf Line buses travel, and that's going to be the pilot area. And cars will be able to use tablets and iPhones, and they'll be able to assist you in knowing things that are ahead, knowing if there is and this is going to be in partnership with the School of the Blind, knowing if there's a vision impaired person in the crosswalk or trying to cross the street. It will assist bicycle riders, and it will assist people operating vehicles to know that there is a bicycle rider ahead or nearby. So the goal is to determine if the technology is able to perform and meet the needs that they believe that they should, and to increase safety, gather information about crashes and so forth. It will be able to tell you if there is an accident ahead and all kinds of things. So that's very exciting to me. And I think all of y'all know here that I'm a giant in the technological world, and I'm just kidding about that, but that's very exciting to me to use technology for that. Actually, we had two technology things. The other one that night, that afternoon, we had a presentation on an update to the Triangle Regional ITS deployment plan. And the purpose of that is to create a framework for technology across the region so that as towns are growing across our MPO region, a lot of them are bumping into each other, and so that there's continuity as you travel from one area to another, one community to another. That increases economic vitality, safety, and things like that. And that's also very interesting too, just kind of one of the things that they do. I was trying to see if there was something that would caught my eye that was exciting about it. It actually was integrating signalization, things like that, that you know somewhere somebody at some point had to think of those things and take care of them and for things to run smoothly. So that was the point of that. Action will be taken on that next month. We received the Wake County Transit Plan update and adopted the Wake County Transit Plan. Have discussed a variety of public engagements that's taken place and the content of the public input that was collected. We received a presentation on the Federal Transportation Funding Authorization Bill and adopted the recommended member project designation support policy. So, what else did we do? We had a discussion and a presentation about the CAMPO projects and programs funding. It was an update that we get periodically about that, and that also included COVID relief funding, $5.9 million to CAMPO this year. We received the 2056 Metropolitan Transportation Plan update, and we also had a variety of just informational items and staff reports that we receive every month. So that was CAMPO this past month. And now we're going to hear from Commissioner Joe DeLoach about the Eastern Wake Senior Center.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess the overall theme of the call, not surprising, but just the ability to adjust and to pivot to the challenges that we have. Tons of reports of activities that are either taking place virtually or either activities that are taking place outdoors. So, the spirits are high, and, the senior center is figuring out ways to get back to normal activities, which has been helpful. May 26th is going to be a day of fitness. That is in conjunction with the National Fitness Week. There are plans to have that day of fitness at the Wendell Community Center. That will be outdoors 1 to 4, I believe, and volunteers are needed for that. So if anyone is interested in that, please reach out to me. And then there were some great ideas bounced around. They were trying a mobile bingo game at the Northern Wake Center. They discussed a sellable, sort of a drive-through art exhibit for folks that have art for sale. And then I entered the hot seat for the last few minutes of the meeting with the million-dollar question of when will the center reopen. So, the board understands, sort of the town's stance on things. We're trying to maintain safety there. That conversation turned into more of, other items of concern, transportation, just a handful of things. We had a meeting earlier this evening about budget. A couple of the items addressed our senior center related, so that was good news. So offset the we're not sure on the reopening with good news of plans ahead. So that was good. They did have an ask for any local, whether it's a church leader or somebody that has large space potential for potential meeting places for activities. So if you have something, that may qualify, again, please reach out to me. But, overall, seniors, are doing great. And again, the million-dollar question is, when can we get back in the senior center, safely? So that is all for, East Wake Senior Center. Thank you.
All right. Item 7B is a discussion on Board of Commissioner assignment to the Technical Review Committee. And I'm going to let Mayor Pro Tem Boyette lead the discussion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did ask for this item to be put on the agenda. My assignment has been very informative, being on the TRC. However, I feel like it has outlived most of its usefulness. The assignment is a holdover from the council form of government, and it creates some issues with public records, or continuing to have a commissioner on the TRC has seemed to have created a few issues with public records, because having an elected official in what's normally a staff meeting means that sometimes plans that developers or applicants might not be ready for public release automatically become publicly releasable. And it makes them perhaps be less forthcoming with some of their plans, which makes the process a little less useful to staff. I would like to say staff has been doing an excellent job. Every TRC meeting that I've been able to attend, which has been the majority of them, I have found Mr. Coates does an absolutely outstanding job leading those meetings, working through them in a timely fashion, getting all concerns taken care of. Any input, commission input into the issues that are raised at TRC meetings, I feel like could be better addressed by the full board when those issues come before us. And so barring any further discussion on this matter, I'm prepared to make a motion at any time, Madam Mayor.
All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Certainly understand Commissioner Boyette's position, and understand that it might be easier with us without an elected official in the room. I do appreciate the oversight role, and would say that I'd be fine with what Commissioner Boyette's proposing. Maybe if there was a way that staff could keep us updated as to what TRC is doing, just as that's something that at least I've become accustomed to. That's kind of how I keep up with what's going on development-wise before it.
I'd be glad to request planning staff to provide a regular communication following the TRC meeting that provides an appropriate level that's not going to disclose a controversial item, so that you have the awareness of the nature and impacts of the work being done and what's coming towards you to assist with your scheduling and awareness and questioning and oversight of staff, but address the issues that Mayor Pro Tem Boyette's raised.
That would be great. I think that the TRC placement with a commissioner is probably a holdover from things being done differently in a past time. And maybe there was more overlap, and there was probably a reason at that time. I find that whenever there's something that we want to change, I'm hesitant to criticize it because there's a reason it was that way, but as we grow and things change, the reason goes away, or maybe it isn't in our best interest to continue it. Just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean you have to keep it up. So, Commissioner Boyette made a motion to discontinue the presence of can you restate your motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I make a motion to eliminate the commissioner appointment to the Technical Review Committee effective immediately.
Okay, so I have a motion to eliminate the appointment to the TRC effective immediately of a commissioner. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, Commissioner Joyner? Commissioner Boyette?
Aye.
Commissioner Deloach,
Aye.
Commissioner Tornaski.
Aye.
And Commissioner Lutz.
Aye.
All right, thank y'all very much. We'll move into our commissioners' comments now, and start with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is, beginning to be the most wonderful time of the year again. For me, that means budget. Earlier this evening, we got all of these fund documents, which I'm sure you'll be able to find on the town website in the coming days. If you want to know, if the thing that you wanted is included in the budget, feel free to call me. Happy to talk through that with anybody. But also take a look online. If you don't see the thing that you wanted included in the budget, particularly now that staff is capable and equipped to create long-term budget priorities for us, you need to go ahead and speak up now. In addition to that, if you have such great thoughts and such great ideas that you've read our budget and you have recommendations on that, it sounds like you are perfectly positioned to take a term serving on a citizen board, because clearly you're involved and interested. Those appointments are coming, so make sure to take a look at those. I had the fun opportunity to be in town last week and participate in a golf tournament for Greg Driver. It's really cool to see what the town of Wendell community and its resources can put together. But with the work of folks at the country club, you're able to raise a sizable amount of money for that family who was impacted by COVID. Also, the Wendell Chamber of Commerce put on a nice banquet. I was happy to be able to attend that. Say all those things to say we're starting to get to a place where you're going to see some returns, and a lot of that is made available because we're doing other things. For instance, vaccinations are available at the town park on a rotating basis. Check out the town website or wake.gov for that information so that we can get back to having a good, fun, normal Wendell summer. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Commissioner Boyette?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, shots are available. Shots are available locally. Go get your shots and go Kings.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Today I saw a headline about Apple coming to the Triangle, and I was upset. I was not upset because they aren't coming to Wendell. I was upset because I thought that there was a possibility that they were coming to Wendell, and I didn't know about it. So in my mind, the possibility is there. So then I saw the map of their proposed location on 540, and I quickly realized that we have a map with a very similar campus location bordering I-87 out at Wendell Falls. So again, for me, this is a very real possibility for Wendell. My basketball playing kids have a well-known saying that I've heard quite a bit over the years. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So with that in mind, I will say that the likelihood that any major corporation or business that may be watching the live feed of our town board meeting tonight is pretty small. But I'll say it just in case. Wendell means business. And anybody that may hear this, just know that we have space. Whether you're starting a business, whether you're relocating a business, or whether you're expanding your current business, we would love to hear from you. And that, Madam Mayor, is me taking a shot.
Commissioner Tornaski?
No comment tonight, Mayor, thanks.
Commissioner Lutz?
Yes, well, one comment tonight, Mayor. I just want to kind of say kudos to the Parks and Rec staff participating in some T-ball and some games here the past few weekends. They've done a great job as far as keeping things organized and keeping things safe and allowing times for players to clear field before the next games come in and just taking some great considerations in. I know the kids are excited to get there and playing again and gives us activities on the weekend. So, yeah, just kudos to them.
Thank you. Real quickly, we're going to be holding, the Board of Commissioners is going to be holding a special call meeting this Friday at the Wendell Community Center. The purpose is to hold an evidentiary hearing for a special use permit. Anyone who would like to speak can enter through the community center's, main entrance. COVID protocols will all be in place. You can sign up at the meeting at the podium entrance when you come in if you'd like to speak. And I believe it's going to be at 6 p.m. I don't know if I said that or not. We're approaching the farmer's market opening day. We're still accepting applications for vendors. I think that we accept them all the time, pretty much. You can contact the town and use the town website if you're interested in doing that. The market's going to run from May 1st to October 2nd on Camden in Maine, where it was last year. Reminder that we're accepting applications for our citizen advisory boards, and those openings will begin in June. Appointments will be made at the June meeting, and applications can be found on the town website as well. I attended the Chamber of Commerce banquet last Sunday, not this past, but the one before. And the Chamber of Commerce, and I really appreciate it, they give us the opportunity to present the Mayor's Award every year, and I collaborate with them, and town staff assists me with that, and we collaborated with that and do the best we can to make it a big surprise for the recipient, and I tell them what to put on it, and they go get the award. It's a really unique situation. It's one of those holdovers from a long time ago that still is taking place. Anyhow, I want to once again congratulate Allison Jurgen, who was awarded the 2020 Mayor's Award. She has had her hand in many things that have gone on around Wendell. She has absolutely got a servant's heart, which is part of the description of the Mayor's Award. If you have enjoyed any events or enjoyed looking at any murals or any art projects or anything around here in the last few years, I can promise you she had a hand in it, and her enthusiasm is contagious, and we appreciate everything she does for Wendell. And again, thank you to the Chamber for always helping with that every single year. That's very nice of them. One thing I neglected in my Campo report that popped up when I was thinking about it is we also received a report from the DOT about the increase in trash pickup. I've gotten a lot of calls from citizens about the trash on the highways and just in general all over, everywhere, pretty much. You may recall quite some time ago, wasn't that long ago, that I told you in one of my reports about the DOT and their funding problems that they were having, and one of the things that went to the wayside during that time was trash collection on the sides of the roads, but they have started picking it back up again. They have picked up tons and tons and tons. They told us the exact amount, and I neglected to write down the exact tonnage of the garbage. I have seen people out picking it up, actually this weekend and last week. I've noticed some improvement in some of the places, so I contacted them a couple of times, spoke with Joey Hopkins a couple of times, and it is improving, so thank you for your patience. That is taking place. And one last thing, I want to just mention how excited I am. We did have our budget work session tonight before this meeting, and I cannot tell you how exciting it is to be a part of this board and for us to plan and dream and have big ideas and visions and adopt a plan and then see them in the budget and see them taking place. And that's so exciting and gratifying, and it's exciting to watch these things start and finish and go through. And I certainly appreciate the town manager for his efforts in that, and the finance staff, and all of our town staff, actually. Everybody plays a role in that, but Mr. Collins is certainly the hub, and I appreciate his efforts in that, and trying to make Wendell into what we've all dreamed about it could become. And we'd be here all night if I tried to read the whole list, but I mean, you know, the street plan, the sidewalk plan, the vehicle leasing, which I think is wonderful, the new town hall, the neighborhood improvement plan, which is something I'm particularly excited about, land acquisition. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And I can't tell you what a great time it is to be in Wendell. We're killing it here. So, that's all I have, and I believe we have a motion to go into closed session.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we head into closed session subject to North Carolina General Statute 143-31811, subsection 4.
All right, we have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor? Just do that one out loud. All right.